What's up, YouTube and Podcast Nation? Welcome to the From Setbacks to Success YouTube channel and podcast. I'm your host, Quincy Benton. And guess what? I'm a felon. Not only have I served time in federal prison, but I've been divorced. I've declared a bankruptcy. I've even experienced a house fire. In short, I've experienced some major setbacks in my life. Some of you too watching right now have experienced or maybe currently experiencing some setbacks in your lives as well. However, I want you to know that there is hope and there's a way to get through the content that you'll find on this channel, the interviews such as the one that we have today with Miss Bejanae Kareem. We'll give you tips and success strategies that'll help you get back in the game and succeed. If this sounds like content you would be interested in, please smash the like button and press the subscribe button. We would love to have you as a part of our community. So with that said, I have an awesome guest today that I can't wait to introduce you to. She's going to give you some nuggets, some gems that's going to help you in this journey back into society. I have again, Bejanae Kareem. She's the founder of and executive director of BK International Education Consultancy. Bejanae, thank you for coming to our show.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to partner with you today.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we're absolutely a joy and glad to have you here. So I want to first start by explaining why you are the perfect person to share the information with our viewers and listeners today. Bejanae is actually a profession. Her consultancy is has a training company that trains people in the grant writing process. So she works with educational organizations and institutions throughout the country to help them become skilled and proficient in the grant writing process. And so when I approached her about a topic and a unique kind of a topic such as a platform, such as From Setbacks to Success, she immediately said, you know, this is not really in my lane, but I am absolutely on board with this. And I can't wait to share some information with people here in the community to help them, again, advance and succeed in life. So again, thank you for that. And let's just jump right into it. Bejanae, tell us a little bit about some of the things that you have found and discovered and just kind of, you know, where you're at with providing our watchers and listeners information today.
All right. So hello, everyone. My name is Bejanae Kareem. First and foremost, I'm an equity advocate, an educator and author, founder of BK International Education Consultancy. And I have to say first, I just have to put that out there, BK International Education Consultancy. Our mission is to amplify education equity so children of color can access innovative education regardless of their zip code. So I first have to put that out there. And that actually connects to how we first were connected, right, Quincy?
Correct. I didn't want to bore our watchers and listeners with that today, but we are both former educators in the Atlanta public school system.
That's right. That's right.
Absolutely.
And so having that experience, and I'm sure as you can relate to, which actually leads to how I got into grant writing in the first place, is as an educator, having to constantly spend it out of my pocket to purchase books, supplies, and this and that for the kids. And at some point, I got tired of it. I was tired pretty much of going broke, not having enough funds to do what I need to do for my kids or for myself. And so my science brain kind of kicked in and I was like, there has to be a better way to get kids what they need without me having to dip into my own pocket. So I started researching grants. And that's where I realized that, oh, with these grants, there's tons of money out there. And they are asking the same questions over and over again. This is a win for me. This is a win for me. So that is one of the places where how I got started initially with grant writing. And so I'm excited to be able to share that with your listeners today.
Absolutely. And let's just have just a brief discussion about grants, because I just want to make sure that we're clear for everybody who's tuned in today. Grants are well, one, we know that the grants are money that's given from different areas, institutions, private donors, things of that nature, but it's a gift in a sense. It is not something that is required to be paid back. Is that correct when we're talking about grants?
That's correct. And the simplified version of a grant is that it is money, it's an investment for a particular community need, so to speak. And as you mentioned, it could be given by a corporation, a foundation, even the government gives out grants, and you do not have to pay it back. However, what you include in your grant proposal, you must make good on it. So that means whatever you put in there, if they're going to give you money to do just that, you have to do just that. So that is the caveat. So it becomes a contract once you are awarded.
I do understand, and thank you for making that clarification. So let's just jump right into some of the grants. And I know, well, for me, I wanted to share this one because I think it's probably the most common one throughout, and it doesn't matter what your background or status is, would be the Pell Grant. Can you share with our audience a little bit about the Pell Grant? Some of them may have heard of it, but can you give a breakdown of what the Pell Grant is?
Absolutely. I'm going to skip a couple of slides here, actually. All right, so I want to talk about some popular grants, one including the Pell Grant.
Okay.
And so grants, particularly for people who were formerly incarcerated, fall under a couple categories. One is providing assistance, so assistance-based programs. So get you up on your feet, get you back into society, and help you out, so to speak. So that's one area. But then there's also grants that can help you do other things. So there are grants, and these, again, things that you don't have to repay back. These are free, could come in the form of free classes. It could help you to start up a small business, a nonprofit organization, or to help you improve your skill set so that you can start a nonprofit or start a business or go after a job, right? And so I'm glad you mentioned the Pell Grant because I actually was a recipient of a Pell Grant.
Oh, wow.
And what actually myself. And so the main criteria for the Pell Grant is that you have to have financial need. So as you said, it doesn't matter if you have a record, if you have a background, whatever it is, the main thing is, can you display that you have financial need in order to acquire that grant so they can help support you in your educational endeavor. So that's the one thing to note about the Pell Grant. So that's a great opportunity for those who have been formerly incarcerated to tap into that particular resource and that funding stream.
Quick question on the Pell Grant. I've only used it or was aware of its use in, say, like community colleges or maybe going to, some type of technical college or even a full year, 4-year institution. Are there any other ways that Pell Grants can be used for someone who's looking to kind of increase their educational skills in the job force that you know of?
Yeah, absolutely. So they can absolutely be used for, like you said, those for community college, for those technical schools, but they can also be used for 4-year universities. That's where I use my Pell Grant. So the main thing is everybody knows how to use Google. So if you go to Google and start a basic search and type in Pell Grant, Pell, it'll give you some basic information in terms of where it can be used and the additional criteria that is required in order to be able to apply for that particular grant.
That's awesome. And with the Pell Grant, everybody, we'll have that link in the description where you can go get some more information about that. But that's absolutely a grant source to get your education paid for without you having to come out of pocket.
That's right. That's right. And as I mentioned before, there are other assistance. So of course, there's education assistance program. The Pell Grant is one. There's also financial assistance, housing, medical bill assistance, mortgage assistance. What I just found out, actually student loan assistance. That's new. I wish I had that when I came out of college.
Don't start with that. Yeah.
Right, exactly, right. Childcare, utility bills. And these are specifically designated for those who have been formerly incarcerated. So I'm glad that you're going to put that link on there so people will have easy access to that particular resource.
Okay. So just kind of changing gears a little bit, but I know that this is something that for many formerly incarcerated individuals and just people in general, they're always looking for money to start their own business. Entrepreneurship is such a big thing in our communities nowadays. People want to do things for themselves. Are there any grants that you are aware of that can be used to help people who are wanting to start their own business?
Absolutely, absolutely. So I'm going to share a couple of resources for you all. One in particular, we were talking about like services to help formerly incarcerated people to get back on their feet. Another resource to check into is Catholic Charities. They have tons of resources that offer a variety of needs, whether it's from food, clothing, transportation, if you need to, get to your business or get to a job. Same thing for the Salvation Army. Salvation Army also has resources, a variety of things, food, clothing, shelter, even maybe some cash assistance for felons. And then specifically, if we're moving into the entrepreneurial space or starting a small business,
Okay.
there's a program called Inmates to Entrepreneurs. And this is a great one because it provides classes, right? It provides you with that foundational training to set you up for success so that you can go after those grant dollars. So Inmates to Entrepreneurs is a great resource to tap into and to look into. They have virtual online Zoom classes. They also have self-paced online classes, and it helps former inmates to get information needed to start over and start their own business. So that's a great place to set you up for success. And then another place to go, which people kind of sleep on a little bit, is crowdfunding.
Right.
So everybody has done crowdfunding, or heard of crowdfunding, but now with the age of technology, crowdfunding is done online. And what crowdfunding simply is a crowd of people who are helping to fund a project. Right. That's all crowdfunding. So if you've gone to church or to some other spiritual home and you put money in a donation plate, essentially you were crowdfunding. That's what you were doing. You were crowdfunding. But now they have these online platforms to where you can do it. And so a popular one is called GoFundMe. There's another one called Kickstarter. And a third one is called Indiegogo. And these are all great for those who are former inmates, because it doesn't matter what your background is. The main thing is, can you communicate, which I'm going to share, I think, a little bit that will help us get started. Just a couple of tips to get you started in writing and crafting your story for your grant. And so whether it's Kickstarter, GoFundMe, Indiegogo, these are online platforms. Again, it doesn't matter about your background, as long as you can communicate what is the need that you're helping to support or solve, and what do you need funding for. And you want to make sure that what you're asking for also seems reasonable, because that's what funders look for as well.
Right. That is awesome information there. And again, I'm really glad you started to talk about in the real in terms of communication and how beneficial that is in grant writing, because when you're applying for grants, you have to be able to tell a story, share a story, create ideas and thoughts and behind the reasonings for why your project is the project that should be supported over others. And so can you talk a little bit more about that, elaborate on that in terms of, because I know there's probably some people listening or watching are saying, I'm not a great writer. So this is not something, grant writing is probably not something that I will be successful in doing. But talk about that a little bit. Do you have to be a great writer, or are there if you're not a great writer, can you still, maybe there are resources that you can go to that might help you get present a successful package to these granting?
Absolutely. You're talking to your girl right here. We provide training exactly for that.
All right.
And that's why I also mentioned to start with crowdfunding first, because you're first helping to craft your story to an online audience before you maybe position it in front of founders, right? And so a couple of tips for writing your first grant is to, first, people want to think about, I need the money. I want to chase the bag. I need it, right? That should not be your primary focus. I know it seems counterintuitive, but it will come across in your story. The first thing that you really want to focus on is, what is the need? what is the need that you need funding for? And so who is your grant project going to support? If you're starting a new business, a small business, for example, are you helping other former inmates? Or you're starting a nonprofit. Maybe you're creating a after school program, a mentorship program to help, boys of colors, to prevent them from, maybe being incarcerated.
Right.
First, you really have to sit down and do some reflection on what is the need and who am I targeting? Who am I wanting to support? And once you've identified that, then you want to start small. You want to have reasonable expectations,
Okay.
and start with finding funding that meets what need you are trying to address, not the other way around. Where is the money, and then I'm gonna fit my story. No, you want to start with the place of you. What are you passionate about? What are you interested in? What do you have a heart for that you want to now transition into after being formally incarcerated? So identify the needs first. Who are you serving? Start small. You don't want to say, oh yeah, I need $1 million. Yeah, well, we all need $1 million, right? So start small and start with a small grant, maybe something that's $1,000 or $5,000. Start there first, and then make sure, I know this sounds so simple, but follow the directions, people. Follow the directions, because whether it's crowdfunding or you're in a place where you can position your grant proposal to founders and foundations, they want to know that you've answered their questions. They put them out there for a reason. They want to know that you answered their questions. So those are, I would say, my first 3 tips in helping to get started with grant writing. The other thing is, I do have a book called 12 Quick Steps to Writing and Winning Classroom Grants.
Okay.
Now, this book is really catered towards educators who continually to spend out their pocket, but they have needs in the classroom to support their children and their students.
Okay.
And so how can we get them to be able to get what they need for their students so they're not going broke, right?
Right.
And so although this book is tailored and customized more so for educators, the 12 quick steps can be used by anybody.
Gotcha.
They can be used for small businesses, nonprofits. And in fact, I use them for my own small business and was recently awarded a Facebook grant and a Comcast grant for my business. So it works. It works regardless, what industry or what you're writing a grant for.
Excellent. Excellent. That is awesome information there, Bejanae. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I think that is going to really help a lot of people kind of figure out, at least begin with a good foundational strategy to approach this. A couple of quick questions tied to that. I wanted to know, just from your personal experiences as well, with grants, do you have to have an LLC, a nonprofit organization, a 501c3, to apply for all grants, or are there grants available directly to just a regular person without having a nonprofit organization?
That's a great question. It's a common misconception that you have to be a nonprofit in order to get a grant, and that is completely not true. As I just mentioned, we've been awarded a grant and we are a small business. And actually, thanks to the pandemic, there are actually more grants out there for small businesses to help stimulate the economy.
Gotcha.
So there are grants for nonprofits, for small businesses, and even individuals. So that's why I mentioned started with crowdfunding first, because you may not necessarily have to have your business established yet. Kickstarter, Indiegogo is actually to help you kickstart, a business. Gotcha. Or even a nonprofit. So
okay,
that's a great question.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you. Another question for you with, and this has to do with actually finding available grants. Can you share with us some options or some sources that may be online, or just organizations that generally are granting agencies in general? Can you provide us some sources of where people can go to find available grants?
Yeah, absolutely. So I mentioned those couple of crowdfunding sites, right? So that's a great place to start. I would also check in with the Salvation Army and the Catholic Charities, because they may also be aware of funds to help support those who've been formerly incarcerated. And then I have to tell people, if you're not online, you have to get your Google game up, because that's the first place where you can go for free
Right.
and
Okay.
type in a few keywords to have the and find, grants to come up. So that's why I said start with what your need is, and then use those play around with some keywords in Google to see, and then put grants at the end to see what grants are available in that particular category that you're interested in helping to address.
So I'm gonna put you on the spot a little bit. Yeah.
Hot seat.
On the hot seat. So you said put in a couple of key words.
Yeah,
So say you were a woman who recently released from state prison or
yeah.
federal prison, and
Hmm.
you had children and you were trying to, get established. In your for that woman who might be listening or watching today, what how if you were that person, how would you start searching for grants online? What type of keywords would you put in?
Hmm. So again, going back to what is your need. So if you're a woman, you just got released, you have a family, what need do you want to focus on first, right? Because I'm sure there's going to be a plethora for all of us, whether
Yes.
you're getting just being released or not getting released. We all have needs.
Right.
And so say maybe it's for childcare. So then I would look up childcare grants for women. Those that would be some of my keywords. Childcare would be key, women grants. You may could play around and take out a few of the words, maybe just childcare grants and see what pops up. You could also put in grants for felons and see what pops up. So again, it really is based on what is your need that you're going after.
Gotcha.
So, for example, for me, um, with a small business, you may want to put in small business grants and see what pops up.
Okay. Gotcha.
Hmm.
And that would
And that's just a basic place to get started for free.
yeah.
There are some other sites, but they have fees associated with them
Got
to
you.
get
Thank
lists.
again. Thank you for that. I appreciate that.
Sure.
And last question, with the in the again kind of tying back to, if I'm the person who's not a great writer, they may have an awesome story or compelling
Hmm.
reasons for wanting, or for that would make someone probably choose them as a person to receive their grant, but they're just
Hmm.
not really great at writing. What what would you recommend for those people? Would you recommend they hire someone? Because I know you're not a grant writer. You don't actually write grants for
For
people.
third parties, right?
Third parties,
Exactly.
yes. So
Hmm.
for third parties, so how would someone who may not have excellent writing skills, uh, how would if you were that person, how would you do it?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Because grant writing is a specific writing style, and you have to be able to communicate a story that's going to illustrate what your need is, what you are addressing, and how your plan will address it with the funds that may be available. So if that is not your strength, I would definitely say practice at it. It could be one thing. And then also, what we do offer though is what they call copywriting or proofreading services. And so while we don't write grants for others, we do train teams on how to write grants. We do offer the service to where we will look at the grant that you are applying for. We will look at what you have written, and then provide you with some feedback in terms of grammar, conventions. Are you answering the questions, and some things to consider to tighten up your story. The good thing is that, as I mentioned earlier, is that when you go after grants, regardless if you go after a variety different, they tend to ask you the same types of questions. They may just ask it a different way.
Hmm.
So usually what I do is anytime I write a grant, I save that document, because I know if I'm going to go after another grant, I'm going to probably have to pull, copy and paste,
Okay.
pieces of that for another grant for another time. So that's a little nugget right there,
That's
a
a
little
nugget there.
strategy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Uh-huh.
Absolutely. Yeah. Save those grants, and you can kind of repurpose those
That's
for other
right.
types of grants that
And you'll get better and better at
and
answering
doing
those
it.
questions. Yeah.
Okay.
Hmm.
Got you.
Absolutely.
That's excellent information. I want to take this time to insert something that is just something I wanted to talk about, and feel free to add your thoughts to it because I know in this community there are conversations being taking place right now with for men and women who are looking to again find employment. And one of the hot topics or hot job industries right now for formerly incarcerated people is the trucking business. And
Mm,
so I am actually in the process of kind of looking into that, investigating the idea of getting a CDL license. It's an interesting process where for a relatively small amount of money. I know here in Oklahoma they have two truck driving schools where
mm,
between in 4 to 5 weeks essentially you could get your CDL license, and for a cost between $5,000 and $7,000 you can would be your cost out of pocket expense for paying
wow.
for that education.
Hmm.
There is an organization here called the Workforce. Let me just pull it up real quick to make sure that I'm saying this correctly. But it's called the Central Oklahoma Workforce Innovation Board.
Mm,
And this
hmm.
is money that came from a broader point of view from a federal grant to the states, where they're providing training, uh, where they're providing money to help people in formerly incarcerated people in as one of the groups, or just disadvantaged people in some cases. They're paying, they're essentially helping them pay for their educational training to give them
Hmm.
skills that would actually they can use to get find employment. So this is a program, and it's through the workforce innovation, and I want our listeners and watchers to research this, because this is information that I'm going to give you specifically for Oklahoma, but this is a national grant that's been
Hmm.
provided to states under the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, or just the Workforce Investment Act. And you can find the organization within your state that provides money for that. So, long story short, I found a way where I could actually get the CDL training paid for through the state organization. So,
Bravo,
yeah,
bravo. That's what I'm saying. There are resources out there. And the great thing about it now is that there are a lot of vacancies in positions. And like you said, the truck driving industry is definitely one. They just need the packages delivered. They just need the packages delivered, and you know how to drive and you have your CDL. Like they don't care about your background.
right, right. Exactly, exactly. So I wanted to share this on this platform in this particular episode, so that I know you're in Georgia. I lived in Georgia. Research. I would imagine anyone who's watching, listening, they could do the same level of research through again the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, or Workforce Investment Act. I'll try to have some links down below in the description that'll direct you straight to those sources. So if you're interested in your CDL, you can get that paid for through these organizations, so that you don't have that extra expense to come out. Just there's just no obstacle, no reason for you to get that extra degree of certification that's going to help you, feed your family and pay your bills out here. So
That's
anyway,
right. And now is the time because a lot of funders know that the economy has been deeply affected by the pandemic. And so they're putting money into all things, workforce development, educate, to help support education, whatever it is. And so you all need to tap into that fund. Tap in,
yeah,
tap
tap
in.
in. Okay. Thank you, Bejanae. I really do appreciate it. So, with that, we're going to bring this episode to a close. But I want to one ask you if there are kind of any last words that you would like to share with anybody related to this process, and then two, tell our watchers and listeners, if need be, if they're just hope someone happens to be, represent some educational institution that would like to contact your agency, how would they go about reaching you?
Absolutely. So as you can see up here, BK International Education Consultancy, you can reach me on Facebook at BK Consultancy or on Instagram at BK underscore consultancy. And I have to share this before I leave, before we conclude, is that it's the spirit of giving. I know we're all giving unto others. And so I'm on a mission to help support local educators. So I welcome your audience too to help donate to our Buy Books Change Lives program, because ultimately it helps impact children. They can go to tinyurl.com/donate to teachers. It's case sensitive, so capital D, the number 2, and the capital T there. And we're going to gift 1,000 educators a free copy of this book so they can tap into grants as well. So thank you for sharing that opportunity. And it's been a pleasure partnering with you today so we can help each other, man. It's a lot of resources out there, and we help each other one person at a time.
Absolutely. And so everyone, please support BK International Education Consultancy and their mission to help teachers throughout our country. I know I put my money where my mouth is, and
You sure did.
been
Thank
a
you.
supporter. So I'm so happy and proud of that to join you in that mission. And I encourage everyone who's also watching and listening to do so as well. Other than that, again, thank you for your time and all your great information. And for everyone else, don't let your setbacks stop you from your success. Let's make this comeback for real. And until next time, peace.